The glitz and glamour of old Hollywood, the red carpets, the massive movie premieres, the icons we still admire today. But behind those perfect smiles and carefully crafted public images was a world of secrets. A world where being your true self could destroy everything you worked for. Today we are diving deep into one of Hollywood's most closely guarded secrets during its golden age. We are talking about the actors who lived double lives, the leading men and women who had to hide who they really loved just to keep their careers alive. This is the story of 15 golden age Hollywood actors who were secretly gay. Before we dive into video, please subscribe to our channel. Number 1. Rock Hudson. Let me start with probably the most famous example, Rock Hudson. This man was the definition of the all-American masculine leading man. Tall, handsome, strong jaw, deep voice. He starred in romantic comedies and dramas throughout the 1950s and 1960s. Women across America dreamed of being swept off their feet by Rock Hudson. But Rock was gay. His studio knew it. His close friends knew it, but the public could not know. In 1955, his agents arranged a marriage to Phyllis Gates. It was a lavender marriage designed purely for publicity. The marriage lasted 3 years. Rock Hudson continued his career playing romantic leading men opposite the biggest female stars of the era. He kept his sexuality hidden until 1985, when he became one of the first major celebrities to die from AIDS-related complications. His death shocked the world and brought massive attention to the AIDS crisis. Rock Hudson spent his entire career hiding who he truly was, living in fear that the truth would destroy everything he built. Number 2. Cary Grant. Cary Grant remains one of the most suave and sophisticated actors in Hollywood history. His charm was legendary. His timing was perfect. He was the ultimate leading man in classics like North by Northwest and An Affair to Remember. But Cary Grant had a secret that his studio worked overtime to protect. For years, he lived with fellow actor Randolph Scott. They shared a beach house together. They were photographed together constantly. The press called them roommates and close friends, but many historians now believe they were romantic partners. Grant was married 5 times to women. Each marriage seemed designed to deflect rumors about his sexuality. People close to Grant have suggested he was bisexual at minimum. Some say he was fully gay but forced to maintain a straight public image. The studio publicity machine made sure that Cary Grant was always seen as a ladies' man. They created stories about his romances. They pushed him into marriages, all to protect the image of one of their biggest stars. Number 3. Montgomery Clift. Montgomery Clift was one of the most talented actors of his generation. His performances in films like A Place in the Sun and From Here to Eternity were groundbreaking. He brought a vulnerability and emotional depth to his roles that was revolutionary for the time. Clift was also gay and tormented by it. He lived in an era where being openly gay was impossible for a leading man. The stress of hiding his true self contributed to his struggles with alcohol and prescription drugs. He had long-term relationships with men, but kept them completely private. A devastating car accident in 1956 damaged his face, and his career never fully recovered. Friends said the accident and his inability to live openly as a gay man sent him into a downward spiral. Montgomery Clift died at just 45 years old. His talent was undeniable, but his life was marked by the pain of living in the closet during an unforgiving time. Number 4. Anthony Perkins. Anthony Perkins gave us one of the most iconic performances in cinema history as Norman Bates in Psycho. His career spanned decades with numerous memorable roles, but throughout his life, Perkins struggled with his sexuality. He was gay, but desperately wanted to be straight. He underwent conversion therapy multiple times trying to change who he was. The therapy did not work because conversion therapy does not work. It cannot change someone's sexual orientation. In 1973, Perkins married photographer Berinthia Berenson. They had 2 children together. Friends and family have debated whether this was a lavender marriage or if Perkins genuinely tried to live a heterosexual life. Either way, he reportedly continued to have relationships with men throughout his marriage. Anthony Perkins died from AIDS-related complications in 1992. His wife kept his diagnosis private until after his death. His story is a tragic example of the damage caused by forcing people to hide or change their true selves. Number 5. James Dean. James Dean became a cultural icon, despite only starring in 3 major films before his death at age 24. Rebel Without a Cause, East of Eden, Giant. These films made him the symbol of teenage rebellion and angst. His early death in a car crash cemented his legendary status. But James Dean was likely bisexual or gay. Multiple biographers have documented his relationships with men. He had a relationship with Rogers Brackett, an older radio director who helped launch his career. He reportedly had affairs with other men in Hollywood. Dean never publicly addressed his sexuality because he died before he had to navigate being a major star with a secret to protect. Those who knew him said he was open about his attractions to men in private. If he had lived longer, the studio system would have forced him deep into the closet. Instead, he remains frozen in time as the beautiful, rebellious youth who never had to publicly deny who he was. Number 6. Tab Hunter. Tab Hunter was the blonde, all-American boy who made teenage girls scream in the 1950s. He was in films like Damn Yankees and had a #1 hit, Song with Young Love. His image was carefully constructed by the studio, the perfect wholesome heartthrob. But Tab Hunter was gay. He had a long-term relationship with figure skater Ronnie Robertson. Later, he had a relationship with Anthony Perkins. The studio knew about his sexuality and worked hard to keep it hidden. They set up publicity dates with young actresses. They created fake romances for the press. In 1955, a Scandal magazine threatened to out him. The studio did damage control, and the story did not gain major traction. Tab Hunter spent decades in the closet. He finally came out publicly in his 2005 memoir. He was 74 years old. He spent most of his life hiding who he was, only finding freedom to live openly as an elderly man. Number 7. Cesar Romero. Cesar Romero had a career that spanned from the 1930s to the 1990s. He is best remembered as the Joker in the 1960s Batman television series. With his distinctive mustache and charming smile, he played Latin lovers and comedic characters throughout the Golden Age. Romero never married. He escorted actresses to events for publicity, but never had a serious relationship with a woman. He was known in Hollywood circles as gay, but never publicly confirmed it. He lived with his mother for much of his life, and later lived alone. Romero reportedly said he never had time for marriage because he was too busy with his career. This was a common excuse used by gay actors. He maintained his privacy until his death in 1994. Romero represents the many actors who simply refuse to discuss their personal lives rather than lie about being straight. Number 8. Clifton Webb. Clifton Webb was a character actor known for playing sophisticated and often prissy characters. He starred in films like Laura and Cheaper by the Dozen. His on-screen persona was so effeminate that many people assumed he was gay, but this was never discussed openly. Webb lived with his mother for most of his adult life. After she died, he lived with male companions. He had a long relationship with singer Mabel Mercer, and later with actor Noel Coward. Wait, let me correct that. He had close friendships with many in the gay community of his era. Webb never married and never publicly addressed his sexuality. His effeminate characters allowed him to be somewhat himself on screen while never confirming what everyone suspected. He existed in a strange middle ground. Obviously gay to anyone paying attention but never saying it out loud. Number 9. Barbara Stanwyck. Now let me talk about one of the leading ladies. Barbara Stanwyck was one of the greatest actresses of Hollywood's golden age. She could do drama, comedy, westerns, film noir. She was versatile and talented and tough as nails. Stanwyck was married twice to men. First to vaudeville performer Frank Fay, and later to actor Robert Taylor. Both marriages were reportedly unhappy. Rumors about Stanwyck being a lesbian circulated in Hollywood for decades. She had very close relationships with several women, including actress Marion Marshall and Helen Ferguson, who was her publicist. The nature of these relationships has been debated by historians. Some insist they were just close friends. Others point to evidence suggesting romantic involvement. What we know is that Stanwyck fiercely guarded her privacy. She never addressed the rumors. She maintained her tough, no-nonsense public image. Whether she was lesbian or bisexual or straight, we may never know with certainty. But the persistent rumors and her own guardedness suggest she may have been hiding her true self. Number 10. Charles Laughton. Charles Laughton won an Oscar for The Private Life of Henry VIII and gave unforgettable performances in films like The Hunchback of Notre Dame and Witness for the Prosecution. He was married to actress Elsa Lanchester from 1929 until his death in 1962. But the marriage was reportedly a lavender marriage. Laughton was gay and Lanchester knew it. In her autobiography, Lanchester wrote openly about her husband being homosexual. She said they had an arrangement, a marriage of companionship rather than romance. This allowed both of them to have successful careers while maintaining respectability. Laughton struggled with his sexuality throughout his life. He was raised Catholic and felt tremendous guilt about being gay. His wife said he was tormented by it. Despite his inner turmoil, Charles Laughton gave brilliant performances, but he never got to live openly as who he truly was. Number 11. Raymond Burr. Raymond Burr became a household name playing lawyer Perry Mason on television. Before that, he had a successful film career, often playing villains. Burr created an elaborate false history about his personal life. He claimed to have been married 3 times. He said his first wife and son died in a plane crash. He said his second wife died of cancer. He said his third marriage ended in divorce. None of this was true. Burr invented these stories to hide the fact that he was gay. He lived with his partner Robert Benavides for 35 years. They met in 1960 and stayed together until Burr died in 1993. The press never seriously questioned his fake backstory during his lifetime. It was only after his death that the truth came out. Raymond Burr felt he had to invent dead wives and children just to protect his career. The lengths he went to show how dangerous it was to be openly gay in Hollywood. Number 12. Marlene Dietrich. Marlene Dietrich was a true icon, glamorous, mysterious, seductive. She had a thick German accent and an otherworldly beauty. Dietrich was openly bisexual in her private life, but this was never acknowledged publicly during her peak years. She had affairs with both men and women. Her female lovers included actress Mercedes D'Acosta and writer Mercedes D'Acosta. Again, let me correct that. One of her lovers was actress and poet Mercedes D'Acosta, who also had relationships with Greta Garbo and other Hollywood women. Dietrich was married to Rudolf Sieber from 1923 until his death in 1976, but they lived separately for most of their marriage. She lived her life exactly as she wanted in private. But in public, the studios maintained her image as a sultry seductress of men. Dietrich represents a slightly different category. She was not entirely closeted, but the full truth of her bisexuality was downplayed and hidden from mainstream audiences. Number 13. Greta Garbo. Greta Garbo was one of the biggest stars of the 1920s and 1930s. She was known for her beauty and her intense desire for privacy. She famously said, "I want to be alone." Garbo never married. She had publicized relationships with men including John Gilbert, but she also had relationships with women. Her affair with Mercedes D'Acosta is well documented through letters. She had close relationships with several other women that may have been romantic. Garbo was intensely private about everything in her life. She retired from acting at 35 and spent the rest of her life avoiding the spotlight. Whether she was lesbian or bisexual remains unclear. What is clear is that she kept her true personal life hidden from the public. The studio created a mysterious romantic image for her. The truth was likely far different from what her fans imagined. Number 14. Vincent Price. Vincent Price became the king of horror films. His distinctive voice and theatrical presence made him perfect for the genre. Price was married 3 times to women and had 2 children, but he was bisexual. His daughter Victoria Price confirmed this in her biography of her father. She wrote that he had relationships with men as well as women throughout his life. Price lived in an era where being openly bisexual was absolutely impossible for a movie star. So he married women and kept his relationships with men private. Those close to him knew, but the public never did during his lifetime. Vincent Price died in 1993, having never publicly discussed his bisexuality. His daughter sharing the truth after his death gave a fuller picture of who he really was. Number 15. Danny Kaye. Me End with Danny Kaye. The beloved comedian and actor who starred in films like White Christmas and The Court Jester. Kaye was married to Sylvia Fine from 1940 until his death in 1987. But he reportedly had a long affair with Laurence Olivier. Yes, that Laurence Olivier, the greatest actor of his generation. Their relationship was one of Hollywood's worst-kept secrets among insiders, but it never became public during their lifetimes. Kaye also had a very close relationship with Eve Arden that some speculate was romantic, while others say was just friendship. What we know is that Danny Kaye presented as a happily married straight man in public. In private, his life was much more complicated. He never addressed any of this publicly, and died with his carefully constructed image intact. So there you have it. 15 major Hollywood stars from the Golden Age who were secretly gay or bisexual. These are just 15 examples. There were many more. The studio system forced countless actors to hide who they truly were. They had to enter fake marriages, create false histories, live in constant fear of exposure. Some, like Rock Hudson and Anthony Perkins, died from AIDS during a crisis that was ignored partly because of homophobia. Others, like Tab Hunter, finally got to come out late in life. Many took their secrets to the grave. The damage done to these individuals was immense. The mental health toll of living in the closet, the inability to openly love who you loved, the fake relationships and real loneliness. All of this because of societal prejudice and studio control. Things have changed significantly since the Golden Age. Actors can now be openly gay and have successful careers, but it took decades of courage from people willing to come out despite the risks. When we watch these classic films now, we can appreciate them with the knowledge of what these actors sacrificed. Their performances shine even brighter when we understand the pain many of them carried. They gave us incredible art while hiding their true selves. That makes their legacy both inspiring and heartbreaking. The golden age of Hollywood was truly golden on screen. But for many of its biggest stars, life behind the scenes was anything but.